I'm Alex Coté. I'm a vintage style graphic designer working mainly for musicians, and here's a little demo of my process for building album art. For this demo, I decided I would reference this Gene Autry album cover. I'm using this photo of my husband, Alex Coté, from a photo shoot we did a while back. He is a musician, so appropriate that he should be on an album cover. I copy and paste him into a new artboard. I cut, copied, and pasted him, and then go to Filter, Filter Gallery. And right now we have it set to Torn Edges, which is a look I like, but for this one I'm going with a halftone pattern. Halftone is that kind of dotty old newspaper look, and you can see here you can size up the dots to be bigger or smaller. You can change the contrast up or down. To give it that sort of faded, printed look, I put a screen layer over top with this blue tone. The Gene Autry cover didn't include his body, it was cut off under his collar, so I'm doing a similar thing with Alex. Now I'm finding the perfect orangey red for the background. The contrast of the red, the orangish red against the bluish toned photo just really makes for a nice look. This brush I'm using here is from a great mid-century brush package called Space Ranger. This one's called Asteroid Belt. And now I'm drawing the kind of snapped off wood sign to go behind him. To give it that 3D look, I duplicate it and make it black, put it behind. Normally I'd actually go in and connect the points on the end to make it look 3D instead of a drop shadow, but since this is a demo, I'm going to skip that. For the Western Classics, I selected a font that's called Western. How appropriate. Then I mess with the scale and rotate it to get it to fit in the space properly. Alex sometimes goes by the stage name Gene Pilgrim, so I'm going to use that for this album cover. Figure it's appropriate because we're spoofing a Gene Autry album. I'm using the Western font for Pilgrim as well. I duplicate it in red, put it behind as a little red shadow. And then for Gene, I wanted a nice script font. I selected this one called Mervale, which is a nice 50s font. Then on the Gene Autry album, there was a little Western landscape, so I'm going to draw in my own. Here I'm using one of my favorite brushes from the Frank brush set. It's called Farley Canvas. I love it because it really gives that dry gouache brushstroke kind of look. Threw in some cactuses, and I thought it would also look nice with a little fence silhouette, so I'm drawing that in here. Something I think really could have benefited the Gene Autry album cover is a rope border around the edge, so I'm putting one in mine. I'm just going to sketch it in loosely. Again, this is a demo, so I'm not going to go in and do all of the detailing, but this is kind of how I would do it to give you an idea. Next comes my favorite part, the textures. So these are paper textures from Atomica. I selected this one. I liked it because it had some stains and some wrinkles at the bottom, make it look nice and old. I set the layer to linear burn. I selected the Space Ranger brush Cheap Ink Grunge to give it a little bit of a faded look. And let's take a look back at our inspirations starting out, and the somewhat unfinished but good enough product. Follow for more vintage style design.